Today I'm going to show you how to make the delicate sparkle earrings to go with the delicate sparkle set we've been working on the last few weeks. So this is what they look like. I have made this one first. I will make the one to match on the video today while I'm showing you how. And let's go ahead and look and see what we need for this project. For this project today, you're going to need 14 4x3 millimeter roundel crystals. This is a Chinese crystal. It's half blue and half clear. Then, with a little AB finish. Then we're going to use 10, and no, I don't have 10 out right now, but this is all I have left of my roundels in this color. So you will need 10 8x6 roundel crystals, and this is the opaque gray with blue AB finish. And then you will need 11O seed beads and 8O seed beads. I'm using Toho galvanized silver tone. And then you will need some Nanofil or Fireline. I'm using 10-pound Nanofil. And you can use 8-pound Fireline or 8-pound Nanofil also. Those will all work. 6-pound will work in the Fireline also, but you will need to sew through your piece a little bit more just to ensure that it's nice and sturdy. Okay, so also you'll need a size 10 beading needle. You can use a size 12 if you can get these heavier weights of thread through it. And let's go ahead and get started by putting about an arm's length and a half. And what I mean by that is measure from the tip of your fingers to the middle of your chest, and that should give you more than enough thread so that you don't have to add on to this project. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to start this project exactly like we have the last three that we've made in this set. We are going to pick up a large roundel crystal, an 11O seed bead. Come here, 11O. And a small roundel crystal and an 11O seed bead. A large roundel crystal, an 11O seed bead. A small roundel crystal and an 11O seed bead. So let's get close. This is what you should have. Start with a large roundel, alternate with the small roundels with 11Os in between, and end with an 11O, just like this. Bring this to the end of your thread. And then from the tail side, you will bring your needle through the first crystal you put on your thread and pull them into a circle. You don't have to have a long tail, but you do need enough to hold on to ensure that you're not going to pull your thread through your unit. Now go ahead and sew all the way back around all of these beads that you just put on. And don't miss any. Come up through the crystal where your working thread meets your tail. Go into the first 11O seed bead right after that crystal, right here. Let's get just a little closer, just like this. And here we will make a picot. And we will use an 8O seed bead, an 11O seed bead, and an 8O seed bead on our needle like so. We're coming out of this side of the 11O. We're going to go into the opposite side of the 11O seed bead and into the crystal and 11O behind it, like so. We're going to pull these beads into a picot between the crystals. Now, your first few units are going to pull loose because we didn't tie a knot in this, so you will have to pull on your tail and your working thread to keep everything nice and tight, keep your tension good. Now you're coming out of this 11O seed bead, pick up an 8O, an 11O, and an 8O seed bead, like so, and go into the opposite side of the 11O you're exiting from, and then through the next crystal, like so. Go into the next 11O seed bead, tighten up your piece by pulling on your tail, and there again you will pick up an 8O, an 11O, and an 8O seed bead, and then you will go into the opposite side of the 11O you're coming out of, and you will also go through the crystal and the 11O behind it. Move your tail out of the way and just pull that picot down. tighten your tension, and then here where your tail is, you will make your last picot in this 11-0 you're exiting from. So pick up an 8-0, an 11-0, and an 8-0 seed bead onto your needle. Go from, you're coming out of this side, go into the opposite side, and then go into the crystal behind the bead you're exiting from, like so. And now we need to make another unit. This is our first unit. Just to ensure everything is nice and tight, we are going to go down into the 11-0, the crystal, and the 11-0 right here on this side, just so that we can secure our thread before we begin again. Now you're going to sew into the 8-0 seed bead, and then into the crystal, or not the crystal, excuse me, into the 11-0 here. So you went through the 8-0 and the 11-0. I don't know how that turned into a crystal in my head, but evidently it did. So anyway, now you're going to pick up. So you're coming out here, and the first bead on your thread, the way your thread is aimed, is the small crystal. So we're going to pick up a small crystal, and then an 11-0 seed bead, a large crystal, oops, I got two 11-0s, and then an 11-0 seed bead, a small crystal, and an 11-0 seed bead, and a large crystal, like so. Now, you're coming out of this bead here, you're going to go into the opposite side where you're coming out of, like so. Now this should position your rondelles to where they are laying in a V shape. So you don't want the rondelles to lay the same way in this particular piece, you want them to lay in a V shape. So this is how it should look, and we're going to go ahead and secure this entire unit that we just added. So let me turn this over just so that I can get to it better, and I'm going to sew around all of these beads I just added. And then I'm going to sew into the 11-0. So I've sewn all the way around. I'm going to sew into this 11-0 here that I'm connected to, and the crystal behind it, like so. Now I'm going to go into this 11-0 seed bead here. Make sure your tension is good and nothing's floppy or wobbly, because these need to be nice and sturdy as earrings, or they'll just fold in half as you wear them. Now, we're going to make our picots on our 11-0s again. So pick up an 8-0, an 11-0, and an 8-0, like so. You're coming out of this side of the 11-0, go into the opposite side of the 11-0, and into the crystal behind it, and pull. Make sure your picot is arranged nicely, looks good, and then move over to the next 11-0 seed bead and go through it. Pick up an 8-0, an 11-0, and an 8-0, like so, and do the same thing again. Go into the opposite side from which your thread is exiting, go into the crystal and the 11-0 behind it, and pull. And again, we will do the same thing. We're coming out of the 11-0, so we will pick up an 8-0, an 11-0, and an 8-0, and we'll go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of, and into the crystal behind it, and pull, like so. Now we need to work down into our center units here. I want to secure the center unit so that it holds everything together. So I'm coming out of this 8-0 seed bead here. See if I can get just a tad closer. I'm going to go into this 11-0 here. Whoops. If I can keep my needle in my hand, I'll go into this 11-0. And I'm just going to sew around this entire little unit in the middle here. So I'm going to pull my thread through the first one, and take one at a time or you'll bunch up your unit and your earring won't lay correctly. So just take one at a time and go through each bead in your little center unit here. This is important because it will secure this unit as we work through. Now, on this one, as we're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead, we're going to go into the 11/0 here, and then we're going to go into the crystal beneath it. So we're getting off our thread path, but that's okay. This is how we're going to do this design. So we're going to go down through that 11/0, and then we are going to go into this 8/0 right here. Kind of pulls everything together nice and tight. Now, it's a little bit different than we made the centerpiece in the necklace, just because this lays nicer for the earring. I redesigned it several times and this worked the best. So you're going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads now, and then you're going to pick up a 3x4 crystal or a 4x3 crystal, and then a 11/0 seed bead, and then a large crystal, and then an 11/0 seed bead. And I'll show you what I have here. So I have 3 11/0s, a 4x3 crystal, an 11/0, an 8x6 crystal, and an 11/0. You're going to drop this down like so. Then you're going to go around the 11/0 seed bead on the other side of the roundel, and just and then go through the 11/0 and the crystal, and that's all. Don't go through the other 11/0s that we put on. Go through the big crystal, the 11/0, and the little crystal, and pull it all apart like I just did. You have to pull your thread through, hold on to the little 11/0. Usually I do that a little bit more graceful, but anyway, it's just a fringing stitch. So go around the 11/0, hold on to your piece, and pull your thread through. Now I'm exiting the little crystal right here, and I need to attach here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads, and then I am going to go up through this 8/0, the center 8/0 right here. See, on this side here, the 8/0, not the 11/0, and pull. Arrange everything nicely, and then you're going to go into this 11/0 or this crystal right here. Crystals are 11/0s. 11/0s are crystals today. I don't know. And then you will go into the 11/0 behind that crystal also, if you can. I will show you what I'm doing here. So I'm going up from this 8/0 here into the crystal here, and then into the 11/0 underneath the large crystal here. Okay, so we're coming out of this 11/0 seed bead now. We're going to go up into the roundel crystal and the 8/0 right above it. So you've got another little picot here, just go straight into the 8/0 seed bead. And then you are going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads, and then a 3x4 crystal or a 4x3 crystal. I always say those backwards, guys. They are the same thing in my mind. So if you're looking online, people have asked me, I can't find what you asked. It's just because I reversed the dimensions. I don't know why. Anyway, so 3 11/0s, 4x3, an 8/0, a 4x3 crystal, and then 3 11/0s. Like so. You're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead here, you're going to hop over to here and go through the 8/0 and the roundel behind it, like so. And then now we have to sew around this unit, so that this little center unit, so that we can get back over to here and to the top, so we can make a connection for our ear wire. So we're coming out of this roundel, we're going to go into this 11-0 seed bead here. And then we are going to go into the 8-0 in the center here. And then we are going to go into the 11-0 on the side here. And into the roundel behind it. Like so. And again, you will go up through the 8-0 right here. And into the 11-0s behind it. I already caught one, so I'm going to pick up the other two. And then you'll go through the crystal, and you will go through the 8-0 and exit. Like so. Now you'll pick up an 11-0 seed bead, your ear wire, make sure it's facing the proper direction. Go through the ear wire, pick up another 11-0 seed bead, and then go through the 8-0. Like so. Now I'm going to turn this around just so I can handle it better. And I am going to sew through this several times. Make sure your ear wire is securely closed so that your thread doesn't fall through it. And just sew through all three of these beads. So you'll go through the 11-0 and the ear wire through the 11-0 on this side, hoping to tuck those down between the two 11-0s, go into the 8-0 again, and continue sewing through this several times. On camera, I'll do it about 3 or 4, and then we'll tie off. You can go through it as many times as you think necessary. Do it one more time. And then this time I'm going to go through all the beads. I'm going to go through the 8-0, the crystal, and all the 11-0s behind it. Then I will go through this 8-0 right here. Now I'm going to catch a little half-hitch knot on the thread bridge between the 8-0 and 11-0 here in this picot. Make sure your thread goes down between, and then just sew through the crystal. And I'm just going to sew around one more time, about here. If you feel like you need to sew around the entire perimeter of the earring, then you can do that. You can go down into your crystal again and all the way and back up and secure this side over here too if you'd like. However you want to do it. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to cut my thread off now. I'm going to leave a little extra, and I'm going to burn that extra down. I might have left a little too much. Okay. And then I'm going to cut this one off and burn it down. Make sure you, when you're doing this, you don't burn any of your other threads. Like so. And straighten it all out. And then let me grab the other one. I wadded it all up. Now, earrings shaped like this have a tendency to want to bend and move around and do weird things on your ear. So I've held this up, I've shook it around, I've put it on my ear, and it's really not folding. But sometimes, and I've had that issue with like my regal lace earrings and stuff like that, sometimes they want to. And if you need to, you can sew around the perimeter several times. make sure you use a heavier weight thread. Don't use a real lightweight thread, and it should be fine. These seem to be okay. They don't seem to fold or do anything strange. They seem to hang fine. This is what they look like. And let me clean up my workspace here, and I will get the rest of the set, and we'll be back. Okay, so this is what the entire set looks like. We've made 2 bracelets, and you could conceivably wear these 2 bracelets together, really. And we've made a pair of earrings and the necklace. And I hope you've enjoyed doing this set. I'm really tired of it. So I'm going to move on to something else. But I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you make yourself a set. It is really pretty. Have fun. Bye-bye.